This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
This is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormack. Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC. Here's TJ McCormack.
Good morning, family. Hello. How are you guys? Welcome back. It's 2:05 in the morning and we're here talking to each other. What the heck? It's us. Look around. Yep, me, you. My gratitude to Tony and Bill right here with me. Fellers. Thank you, fellers. And so it's us and the stars. And the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie. That's us. And so 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. And I got here without incident. I was not pulled over. I took it nice and easy on the way. I made if you're not here last night, I got pulled over on the way into Manhattan last night by a very, very chill, relaxed young New York State trooper who commiserated with me for a few minutes. We talked about a couple. He let me go, and that ended up being the entire program last night. That ended up being the entire show. We were talking about all different, run-ins with the law, good, bad, strategy. What do you do? What do you not do? What are the police really after? What are the municipalities really? Is there such a thing as the end of the month push to hit the quotas? Are there even quotas? And we had a retired state trooper, John, I believe he was from Yonkers, called in. And sure enough, there's a quota. It's the recommended level of performance, apparently, which means, what you're expected to bring in ticket-wise over the course of. And if you haven't hit that number, they're out there. And so now here we are. It's Sunday morning, the 24th of August. And so you figure this week, it's the last week of August. They're going to be out there. Anyway, nothing happened. I got in my car and I played my jazz. I got in the car and I just said, okay, that was another problem. I said, last night I was listening to like news stuff and I was hyping myself up and looking for headlines and looking for things to talk about and like that. And I think that contributed to me being a bit on edge as I drove. And so tonight it was jazz. That's what I played. Vibraphone jazz. My wife is married to such a nut. I am so out of my mind and so worthless. I have my moments where I do come through. I'll kill a bug, I'll get a spider. But really, I don't know exactly. I really hope my wife, wasn't looking for, she's stuck, right? She had her chance to get out. My beautiful bombshell. She had her chance to get out 20 years ago when I was just out of my mind and drinking beyond words. And she kicked me out. She could have run the other way, but she stuck around. And, we're sitting there today. We were talking about me being pulled over and we were talking about this. And I told my daughter about and all this stuff. And and we're kind of looking at each other and I'm like, oh, you poor thing. You do not have a man's man. You really don't. I am just not. I don't know why I'm going in this direction right here, right now. But when I'm just thinking about my role in the house. And I'm the persnickety one. It's interestingly, again, my wife is this just ultra feminine, beautiful British bombshell. She's a dancer. She's gorgeous, leggy. How the hell this monkey ended up with this showgirl, I still don't know. And 2 beautiful showgirl daughters that we've got. And yet in the relationship, if it was The Odd Couple, she's Oscar. I'm wondering if anybody out there is in a relationship where the roles are sometimes reversed. Because we're both kind of lost. Neither of us can do like anything. Neither of us is particularly handy. Okay. We have to get a guy for everything. I got to get a guy for everything. I can't hang a picture. I can't, like how many drywall walls I've ruined because I don't know how to do that like anchor thing that goes in before you're supposed to screw in an anchor and then put in a screw and then hang a paint. I've gone through entire walls and I just stopped and I just said, well, that's it. Everything's gone. Every painting is going to cost us. Any picture to hang, it's going to cost us $100. $100, because you got to hire a handyman for a minimum. I can't hang a picture. I can pour Drano, but I can't unclog a drain beyond that. I can definitely plunger. I know how to use a plunger, and I'm good at that. But I do have kind of a thing. Like that. I'll gip, I think is the word. I'll heave if I have to plunge a toilet that's particularly reprehensible. And I just, but what is it that I'm good at? The persnickety things. I'm the one who knows how to load the dishwasher. I'm the one who, and by the way, the great age-old debate with the toilet paper, by the way. Over the top or underneath? Over the top or underneath? It's over the top. And if you think otherwise, 1-800-848-9222. Over the top with the toilet paper. Over the top. And if you put it in backwards, how do you not see that it's backwards and then flip it back around? How do you not? Not complaining. I'm just saying. Anyway, all of that being said, welcome back to the show. Just a bit of a stream of consciousness, kind of all over the place kind of brain I find myself with this particular morning. 1-800-848-9222. It's another side of midnight. In the second hour, by the way, we're going to be speaking with Daniel McAdams, who we're going to be at Senator Ron Paul, Dr. Ron Paul, is turning 90. And we're going to be talking to Daniel McAdams, who is the executive director of the Ron Paul Foundation. And we're going to talk a little bit about Russia, about Ukraine, and about American isolationism and the Ron Paul doctrine, if you will, and his worldview. And it's interesting to get this sort of expert look at what kind of situation America finds itself in. In the sense that, Trump is making a lot of the isolationists happy, but he's, with the America First thing, but he's definitely dipping his toe in that international water. Anyway, interesting stuff. We'll have a good conversation with him in the 2 a.m. In the 3 a.m. hour. Excuse me. It is the 2 a.m. hour. So a little after 3 a.m. we'll speak with Daniel McAdams. He has been working with Ron Paul for many, many years, and he's going to be on the program. Talk a little bit about about isolationism versus stopping some of these wars. And look, if we can clean up some of this stuff, then we might be able to really settle into some nice isolationism. If we can, get the world into like a nice world order out there, then maybe we can settle in for a good winter's sleep just on our own. Anyway, in the meantime, a couple of things that have been happening out and about around the world that caught my attention. There's a few things. First of all, have you heard of a woman in the UK named Lucy Connolly? Have you heard of Lucy Connolly? Lucy Connolly is a woman in the UK who went to jail. She was sentenced to 31 months in jail. She did a portion of that time. And it was for a tweet. It was for a tweet. It might seem like a local story from another country in the sense that it's she's a UK mom, and a mom has children, and she's a former nanny, and she's the wife of a conservative, like a local town councilman, conservative town councilman over in England. And she was jailed for a tweet, not a physical assault, not a direct threat to an individual, but a single, admittedly angry post on social media. She had seen a news report. There was about a year and a half ago, there was a stabbing in the town of Southport in England. And that is just up the coast from where my wife is from, Liverpool. And it was one of the most horrific, awful things ever. There was an attack at a dance studio. So this hit home for my family. My wife owns dance academies, owns dance schools for kids, and she's from about 20 minutes away from where this happened. And the attack was a stabbing attack. Little girls died. It was awful. And the young man who committed this savage attack was not an immediate migrant. He was a first generation. He was, I believe, born in the UK to migrant parents. Anyway, in a fit of anger, this woman, she saw a news report about the stabbings, and what the prosecution said were racist sentiments. She posted a message that, again, she calls her own message to be abhorrent and bad judgment, but she called for mass deportation of people and for setting migrant hotels on fire. Okay? She later deleted the tweet, but it was up for 3 hours. She was physically, literally arrested. They came and got her at home. She pleaded guilty to inciting racial hatred. Okay? She was sentenced to 31 months in prison. Now, again, she talked about burning down hotels that were full of migrants, like we have here in New York, like we've had in New York. Imagine, calling for the Roosevelt Hotel in Midtown to be burned to the ground with the migrants inside. Okay, yes, that's an awful thing. And even a free speech absolutist like myself draws the line when it comes to calling for violence, and that sort of thing. Now, hatred, I go in a different direction with hatred. But inciting violence, calling for something, okay. Now, again, this wasn't a direct threat against an individual. She was speaking in hateful generalities. And a lot of people would say, all right, good. That's a hateful message. She's calling for violence. That's not speech. That's incitement. And I'm certainly not defending any of the content. Well, maybe I am. But it wasn't a riot. It wasn't even a stone through a window. She wasn't even out in the street with a bullhorn. It was a tweet. She did it from behind a keyboard. 31 months. Now, here in the U.S., we have a much more absolute view of free speech. Well, we have historically. Over there is no constitutional First Amendment, not in the UK. And the law balances free expression with hate speech. They determine what hate speech is, the government over there. So, anyway, opening up to everyone, just curious where you stand and what you think about just how important free speech is. How absolute are you when it comes to free speech? Exactly what role do you think free speech plays in our ultimate freedom here? And, you know, in you pursuing your happiness. You have the right to life and liberty and the pursuit of happiness. Liberty in the middle of that, to me, that's being able to express yourself and gather with like-minded people peacefully. 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And, you know, we had during the last couple of Democrat administrations, there was definitely coming, you know, through the Me Too movement and all these other, there was that time where people were being canceled, cancel culture. And it was clearly, it was the right who were being canceled and the occasional lefty who just said the wrong thing, according to the even further lefties. But each side takes turns. There's been times when it was the conservative Bible thumpers who wanted to censor Elvis and the Beatles and dirty books and dirty movies. And, you know, and people like George Carlin and Lenny Bruce, they went to jail to say words to people who were paying to hear those words. And we've had the conservatives blacklisting people. And we've had conservatives calling anybody with a message in Hollywood communists back in the 50s. And basically railroading people right out of show business. I was blacklisted in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was blacklisted in Hollywood. Up and coming stand-up comic. Not even so much up and coming. I was there. I was the flavor of the month. I was up for a couple of big deals. Blacklisted because I talked about gun rights. And I'm not even a big gun guy. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-9222. Talking about free speech, and we're talking about how both sides do it. Both sides have taken their opportunities to sit in judgment of the other side. And, you know, everything from the Nazis marching in Skokie, Illinois, to, you know, George Carlin and the 7 dirty words. And everything in between. And rap music. That filthy rap. It's words. And then here this woman lives in a country that created the Magna Carta and set the example for the foundation upon which the United States established ourselves a couple hundred years ago with the Constitution, we had the wherewithal and the foresight to have the Bill of Rights, first and foremost being the First Amendment, free speech. I believe that free speech is where it all begins and ends. It's where it all begins. 1-800-848-9222. Let's very quickly bump over to line one. Bob in Stony Brook, you were first. Good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
Yeah, how you doing? Look, I've been listening to you. I was going to say something unrelated to free speech.
That's fine.
Unquote, free speech.
I've been on a stream of consciousness, so it's okay. You can address whatever.
No, I want to take up that issue because really, I mean, men with minds much more brilliant than yours and mine put together debated these issues at the founding of the country. And I'm sure they went through the possibilities of the ramifications of censorship versus free speech. And I think they decided that living with the potential negative consequences of free speech were preferable to those of censorship.
Yes.
And I personally feel that censorship is a form of homicide. You're silencing a person. You have to live with the results of what they say. And that depends on an intelligent and informed population who have some common sense. And before this culture went off the deep end, I think the elements and the ideals of free speech were very important. And I think we should probably adhere to them and live with the amount of consequences of negative consequences, like somebody, saying that you should burn down a building or something, because what happens is that there's a crazy person that may try that.
Yeah.
We have to live with those consequences rather than some central bureau deciding what should be said and not said. And you just have to live. Nothing's perfect.
Right.
You have to live with the fringes on both sides of these issues.
Indeed.
And I side with free speech, period.
Woof. Boy, Bob, that's beautiful. That was, you nailed it. I mean, absolutely eloquent and perfect. And I had never actually, thank you for that, because you're helping me to understand what I didn't articulate all the way through, because I wasn't thinking in terms of those fringes and living with the ramifications. That's a brilliant take on free speech and what comes with it, and in the case of the UK, they're so close. They're all, they're infected by Europe and the European Commission on Human Rights and all of these other extreme, certainly leftist governments and groups out there. Even though the UK left the European Union, they're still involved with a few of their with a few of their bodies and commissions, one of them being human rights. And that's where some of this comes from, and it makes them quite touchy and nervous, and so for this woman, and the thing is too, is that over there, the general rule of thumb is if somebody, because they're dealing with social media in real time, the precedent that's been set over there is that if somebody deletes the tweet, they kind of let it go in a sense. This woman deleted the tweet within 3 hours. She was sentenced to 31 months in jail. Can you believe that?
That's excessive persecution.
Woof, right?
That's
Absolutely.
Excesses of the state. You get a few people in power who decide that they know how to run the world, how to make the world better, and they get off into their own fringe territory. Indeed. Amen. Bob, thank you so much. Great first call for the morning. I'm really, really grateful for that. Let's see. Let's get over to Norman in Brooklyn. Norman, good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
Good morning, TJ.
Hey.
Yes, the more you hear about things with Britain, the more you realize why we had a revolution against them. Basically, much of their movies are more censored than than we have in the United States. There's quite a limitation on what you can write. What you can say. When in Britain, they don't have a Bill of Rights. So when they decided summarily after one incident in Dunblane to ban all firearms, they did so by a sweeping fiat.
Right.
Okay. I'll stick with my American system, thank you.
Yes,
and they can have their system, which right now Britain has become a hotbed of anti-Semitism. There's all sorts of anti-Jew stuff happening all over the country now.
and they paint with a broad brush. They refer to in the wake of that awful Southport stabbing spree at the little girls' dance school. It was so sad. It was a Taylor Swift themed dance camp that day, and this animal came in and just literally lunged at, and it's awful. I hate even articulating what happened. But in the immediate aftermath, here comes, you talk about free speech. Here comes the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, and other representatives of the government coming out and talking about those people who were sounding off and referring specifically and only to right-wing people expressing right-wing views, and basically marginalizing and targeting conservative people speaking from a conservative perspective that day and in the immediate aftermath of that attack. And so, right there, they're abusing their own free speech in a sense. And no, it is ridiculous. And people there's loads of videos on TikTok and Instagram of examples of people being approached in their homes, in their living rooms, by the constabulary over there, taking them in for things they have literally put on Twitter. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, thank you so much there. Have a good rest of the day there. Thanks, Norman. All right, let's take our bottom of the hour break. We've got Hannah waiting. We got Billy and Al all waiting to talk about free speech and exercising their rights to free speech with us here on 77 WABC. We will be right back. 1-800-848-9222. Talking about free speech and a lot of other things this morning here on Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ. Be right back.
Judge Jeanine Pirro.
She's the outspoken host.
That's what everybody's talking about.
Judge Jeanine Pirro.
Judge Jeanine Pirro is dominating the headlines right now.
New York discretion with no objections. She demands order in her court. Today at 11 a.m., it's the Judge Jeanine Tunnel to Towers Foundation Show.
Judge Jeanine Pirro.
On 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's TJ McCormack.
When the world seems to shine like you've had too much wine, that's amore. Do they still have wine in baskets and the Chianti in Italian restaurants? Do they still have it in like the little basket? Tippy like a gay carbonara, lucky fella. Ooh. Next week, you know what we're doing next week? Next week is Labor Day weekend, and the one thing that I miss from my childhood, even though it went right through most of my adulthood, I miss the Jerry Lewis Telethon. And next week, I want to pay homage to the Telethon, and so we're going to do some clips, and we're gonna try to read. And I don't know if Mr. Orlando would do me the honor, but, Tony was, for years and years and years and years, he was the host of the New York broadcast of the Jerry Lewis Telethon, and I would love to pick his brain a little bit and talk about those great days. I'll have to...
Every time your lips meet mine.
Go on, Jerry.
Baby, down and down and down I go.
Round and round and round I go.
In a spin, loving the spin that I am in. Under that old black magic called. Old black magic called. Old black magic called.
Love. I was born in the wrong era. I'm telling you, I was born in the wrong era. And that right there is free speech. Right there. All the you know what? I tell you what, man, that was the golden age. The shiny hair Jerry. That was awesome stuff. I love that Jerry. I love the Jerry with the glasses and the shiny hair and the constant cigarette going. Loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it, loved it. Oh, la-di-da-do. Ooh, yeah. Oh, serious Jerry. Serious Jerry. You know what? You want to see something, and we'll get back to the free speech, by the way. You want to see something awesome. Find the Jerry Lewis appearance on the Dick Cavett Show, gang. And you want to see a man take himself very seriously. There's Dick Cavett, a comics comic in a lot of ways, talking to Jerry Lewis, a comics comic in a lot of ways. And he asks Jerry his theory on comedy, on filmmaking. And it's so, I mean, if I could have, and I know Jerry was one of those people that, it's one of those celebrities that repeatedly and regularly disappointed his fans when they met him. He was not particularly gracious, and he could be a bit edgy and aloof, and but I would have been fine with that. I would have been so happy to be blown off by Jerry Lewis. Anyway, I love those days. I love those telethons. Next week, I got to figure out a way to get you guys some stuff and play a clip or two here and there. And again, if I can navigate my way to Mr. Orlando, I would love to pick his mind for just a few minutes and ask him about those days and his relationship with Mr. Lewis. Anyway, it is 2:40 here on Another Side of Midnight, and we're talking about free speech, kind of a serious subject, but you know, it's what everything is predicated upon. Every single thing we talk about on 77 WABC throughout the day, all of the news items, all of the politics, all of the international stuff, all of the FBI stuff, everything, the Epstein, the Ukraine, the Trump, the JD Vance, the Kash Patel, everything, the Mamdani, everything that we do and say and enjoy in this country is predicated upon our ability to express ourselves, come together and express ourselves together peacefully. And we're seeing different ramifications around the world. And, you know, it used to be when America sneezed, the rest of the world caught a cold. Now, sometimes it's the other way around. And the rest of the world sets an example, and a bunch of lefties here in the States pick up on it and run with it. And there was a little time there where the cancel culture, that was not a product. This most recent bout, that wasn't conservatives doing that. The last few rounds of cancel culture over the last 15, 20 years have been the liberals running crazy saying, you can't say that. And also, is it not an impediment on your free speech, an intrusion and a trampling of your free speech when you are forced as a celebrity or a worker, an employee of a company, that you have to participate in something like, you know, Pride Month, that you're supposed to embrace and run with and enjoy and talk about and celebrate Pride Month? How about that? You've got intrusions on free speech by omission and commission. 1-800-848-9222. Billy in Bay Ridge. Good morning. Welcome to Another Side of Midnight.
Good morning, TJ, my brother. How you doing?
I am well, my brother. What's up?
Very good, man. A couple things I like to say.
Yes.
You had me dancing. You had my paisano Cheech on D. Martin. You come to my neighborhood in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn. I take you to my friend's Italian restaurant. Yeah. We got the wine in the basket. You feel like you're back in time. Those are the days I love.
Red sauce.
You know?
Nice.
Oh, it's the best. You go crazy.
All right.
Over the Brooklyn roots, and you go nuts.
Maybe.
Shanghai, you'd be walking out crooked.
Beautiful. I love it. That's beautiful. What else is on your mind?
What I'd like to say. Mm-hmm. Over in Europe and London, they've gone totally off the reservation with these progressive left-wing idiots. And then that ideology comes over here because they have been invaded by 4 million invaders. There's a country of 60 million.
Yep.
They've taken over 50 towns where they're the mayors, and it's their ideology that's taking charge of everything. And see, we still have that piece of paper called the Constitution.
Yep.
That's what makes us different from every other country.
You're right.
So
you're right.
And they're trying to pull that nonsense here. Same thing what's going on with Cracker Barrel. That's been going on since 2005, that they've invaded with the LGBTQ and all. Look into it. It's going to tell you. That's who's backing that. So they've now made that generic, and they're pushing their agenda. And people are pushing back now with that. But like I said, they are trying to take over and cancel our values. And this is why we fought a war, the revolution, and all against the socials, political elites of England back then. And now it's trying to come back where they're forcing their beliefs on us. And it's not going to happen.
Nope.
And if Mondani gets in, if people don't wake up, we're going to see what's going on in London, in New York.
That's it. And that is part and parcel of why I bring this up, because Mamdani is that's where he comes from. He comes from a strong government overreach is what he's all about, and it's bad news for our free speech and our way of life here in New York City. Thank you, Billy, as always, my brother. Thank you so much. I would definitely love to come out to Brooklyn and enjoy some red sauce Italian. Let's see. Very quickly, let's go over to Hannah in the Bronx. Good morning, Hannah. Welcome.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Hannah?
I'm okay.
Good.
I just want to say I'm old enough, and we are old enough to know this movie called Clockwork Orange by Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick,
Right.
Clockwork Orange. Yeah, creepy.
I'm not that old to remember this, but I know film history to the point that I remember Clockwork Orange, a very controversial film by Stanley Kubrick, was banned in the UK.
Yep.
And, and they brought it to the U.S. And U.S. released it, but the U.K. was banned.
Right.
And the thing is, in reference to free speech,
yes,
I think it's just gone overboard. People are so sensitive. I just discussed with my friend Julian about this, that we live in a very hypersensitive, because we've been so overly exposed to everything. This is my honest opinion.
Okay.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's like people should lighten up. People should have sense of humor. He
Amen.
said something. Yeah, he said. My friend Julian said something tonight.
I think I'd like Julian. I think Julian and I would get along too. I think the three of us could go out and have a really good night. Go on.
Yeah, I mean, he said something, and if he would have said the same thing. May I say it? It's nothing vulgar. It's just a comment.
Right.
And he said something. He said that all Asians look alike. I'm Asian. I'm actually mixed, but I look very Asian.
Okay.
And my mother's Scottish. My father is also Asian. He's Japanese, but they're both mixed too.
Oh,
But
wow.
the point what I'm saying, my father is half Japanese, half French.
Oh, Japanese, French, Scotch. You're you must be stunning. You must be absolutely beautiful.
Thank you. I am.
I can tell over the radio.
Oh, thank you.
I can tell over the radio just how beautiful you are.
Oh, you're playing that music.
And I'm gonna.
Cool.
This is the music from Clockwork Orange.
Yes. Korova.
Yes.
So what I'm saying to you is that he said a comment, right?
Right.
He said all Asians look like. I pretended.
Only most Asians look alike.
Well, he's just saying that has a joke.
I'm just kidding. Me too. I'm kidding.
And I'm
of
laughing.
Course. I'm kidding
what I'm
too.
saying? And but then again,
I told Bill and Tony that all black guys look alike, and they agreed.
Yeah.
These guys don't. These guys can't tell each other from each other.
Yeah. But
I'm
you
with
know
you.
what I'm saying, right?
I do, Hannah.
It's
Tony's
just
going to come in here and kick
people
my.
get so overboard to the point that people sue.
Yeah.
Over silly things.
I know.
And waste court's time.
I know.
When there'd be more valuable time to spend on really important,
You know what it is? People need to, I think your point is, Hannah, that people need to grow up. They need to relax. They need to give a little breathing room and also get to understand the concept that it's not all about them. I think this also has to do with people being full of themselves and thinking that every time somebody makes a comment, it's aimed at and directed towards them.
Yes.
And that's not the case. Yes, please, go right ahead.
Can I say one more point?
Yeah,
the other point I have is that people think they have rights to be extreme.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Because we give in this I'm going to be really frank with you.
Okay.
I'm pro-gay people.
I'm sorry, you what?
I'm pro-LGBTQ.
Sure,
and the
me
other
too.
acronyms.
Me too.
But I don't like how they exploit it. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And as well as also other things. There was I understand, we have all these, I'm going to say something controversial.
Okay. And then I got to go, Hannah, but go ahead. Give me something good and controversial.
Yeah. Well, we have all these immigrants or what you call undocumented immigrants, right?
Illegal aliens. Yes.
Right. So what happened is, you start saying that word, illegal aliens, right? People go so outraged.
I know. That's why I said it.
People go crazy. and the funny thing is, I live in the Bronx.
Right.
And, you say that to people.
Yeah.
They want to stab you.
I know. And you they need a like in this day and age, you need a reason to be stabbed. Hannah, I got to jump, but I am so. Hey, you know what? Call me again sometime, Hannah. I like your contribution to the program. Chris and Jeffrey and Diane, do not move. Diane, especially, don't you dare move because I want to talk about that. Diane, don't you go nowhere. 2:51. It's Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ McCormick, here on 77 WABC. It's 2:53 here on Another Side of Midnight. I feel a little bit of momentum. Do I need momentum? I got enough momentum, but I'll take a little bit mo. Anyway, as we're in that break, I got an alert from yesterday. There was an article in the New York Post, and for some reason, I only just got the alert. It seems like God is producing tonight because God tapped my phone on the shoulder, and it woke up and it told me about this article in the and it must have only been the digital because I didn't see it in the print unless it got past me. But case in point of what happens with free speech. Now, okay, here you go. In Georgia, a man and a woman were shouting at their Jewish neighbor, hurling anti-Semitic slurs, okay? Called their Jewish neighbor the K word. The Jewish neighbor, his daughter, was a sergeant in the IDF, in the Israeli Defense Forces. She was killed in action as in the current war against Hamas. And they're for some reason just going off on this neighbor of theirs, calling this Jewish neighbor all these names, saying his daughter, like basically the fact that she died, it was okay because she was fighting. Anyway, the husband is a husband and wife ganging up on their neighbor down in Georgia, their Jewish neighbor. The husband was fired from his own company, a healthcare company that he helped found and develop over the years. Now, I agree. Okay? Again, it's a nuanced thing when it comes to free speech. You can say whatever you want. There's gonna potentially be ramifications in the free market. You could say something that offends, that could be bad for business. You could lose, thousands, tens of 100,000, millions of dollars in revenue because your company could be associated with hateful anti-Semitic speech. You could be running for mayor and people know that you're an anti-Semite, so you're not going to get that promotion. You're not going to win that election. You're not going to get those votes. Now, it's different when the government detains you and incarcerates you for saying something. But when the public marketplace says they don't like something and you will have overspent your welcome because you're a bigot and an anti-Semite. If you're in show business, you can't just go out and say, so there you go. Again, it's nuanced. It's a fine line. This guy had every right to say what he wanted to say, to shout at his neighbor. He can do that, but there's going to potentially be a consequence. Diane in Brooklyn on line 5. Good morning. Welcome to Another Side here on 77 WABC. Good morning, Diane.
Good morning. Yeah, I wanted to tell you about this amazing movie that I'm sure you've seen.
Yes.
King of Comedy with and Jerry Lewis was so good. And by the way, Gleason was also a great actor.
Yes.
These comedians were great actors.
Thank you.
But this is such an amazing film, and it was done by, I can't think of his name. He did Goodfellas. What's his name?
Yeah, Martin Scorsese.
It was a Scorsese film.
Yep.
Brilliant.
Absolutely
film.
brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. And Jerry, serious Jerry. Hey, you know what? You want to see another great movie? Find this movie. You can find it. It's on everything from YouTube to like Prime Video. You can find it. It's called oh God, wait a minute. I'm blanking now. This happens to me all the time. Just when I get a radio show, my memory starts to slip. Isn't that perfect? I will. All right, listen. When we, if I don't remember it right now, wait a minute. Not King. That you're talking about the King of Comedy.
But look, I figure it this way: better to be king for a night than schmuck for a lifetime.
That's De Niro. That's right. That's De Niro. And Sandra Bernhard is in that.
Brilliant!
Sandra is amazing.
Amazing, and De Niro was amazing.
De Niro,
and he was so handsome then.
Yeah,
too.
De Niro, young and handsome, and Ma, stop it! I'm doing something. Yeah, shouting from his basement.
Okay.
And,
did we ever see the mother?
No, we never saw her. Never saw her.
Right.
And wait, you know who else is in that? Shelley Hack. Do you remember Shelley Hack from? She's the one that
Charlie.
Yeah, from Charlie's Angels, and she was the Charlie girl.
No, not Charlie Angels. No.
Yep,
there
Charlie.
Was a perfume called Charlie.
Got us.
And she used to promote it.
Yeah, and it's here now, Charlie. Yeah, that was Short. What was his name from? Bobby Short. Bobby Short, the jazz pianist who played forever and ever at the Cafe Carlisle. Look at me.
What did Shelley Hack do in this?
Shelley Hack played the talent booker for Jerry Lewis's TV show.
Oh, okay, okay.
And when
and his girlfriend, De Niro's girlfriend, was the bartender that he wanted to impress.
That's right. He got her in the movie. Hey, Diane, I got to jump, but do not leave the show. Stay around because when we come back from the news, I'm going to tell you the other movie, the title of the other movie. You got to see it. It's Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ McCormick. Everybody stay there. Chris, Jeffrey, all y'all. We shall return on 77 WABC. Good morning, family. 3:06. It is Another Side of Midnight, and we are decidedly awake. We are decidedly up, and in a very New York way. In a very, very, very New York way. Because you know what? That whole entire conversation about free speech, where the hell would New York be if it was not for the ability to speak out? Half of our identity is the fact that we say what the hell is on our minds. So the whole concept of free speech, I think it resonates differently here. There is no stiff upper lip. There is no mind your P's and Q's. And it's not that we're a bunch of rude jerks just for the sake of being rude jerks. We're rude jerks because we've just about had enough. And you have to always have a little bit of an extra edge when you live in a big place like New York. If you're going to be noticed, if you're going to get what you have coming to you, if you're going to get ahead, if you're going to blaze a trail in a massive concrete jungle like New York or the incredibly city or the incredibly competitive nature of the suburbs around here. You know, you can't get lost in Long Island. You can't just become part of the scenery in New Jersey. If you live in Westchester and you're going to try to blaze a trail, you've got to be outspoken. And you've got to be able to express yourself. And so I think there's a special embrace of free speech. And not just in just the constitutional sense of it, in terms of the cultural sense of free speech, saying what's on your mind. You got to do that in New York. And I love the fact that we're talking about Jerry Lewis. He's from New Jersey, but certainly Jerry Lewis from New Jersey. I mean, look at this coincidental full circle that we've come, right? We're talking about a classic New York film like The King of Comedy with the quintessential New York filmmaker, Martin Scorsese. Jerry Lewis from Paterson. I believe he's from Paterson, New Jersey. I'm pretty damn sure Jerry Lewis is from Paterson. I believe that's where he was born. And we talked about Jerry Lewis because we were talking about the Jerry Lewis the Labor Day telethon. Next week is Labor Day, yet another Labor Day without Jerry. And that stinks. But anyway, there's something about free speech and speaking your mind and creativity and the arts and all of that. Yes, constitutionally, there's a whole thing about being able to open your mouth. And you have a right to offend somebody. You have a right to be offended. And there's also the marketplace that determines whether or not, okay, if you're going to be some guy, this guy in Georgia was hurling anti-Semitic epithets at a neighbor. Lovely. And he got fired from his own company. All right. Well, again, them's the breaks. It's how a cookie crumbles. But you should be able to say, I really think anything, again, other than calling for someone to be injured. You can say you don't mind if somebody was injured. How many times, by the way, the left lives there? The left lives there. When's the last time, when Rush Limbaugh passed away, how many vile, craven leftists lined up dancing on his grave? Guy died a long, slow death from cancer. He saw his own mortality staring him in the face for years. And those pigs celebrated it while the body was still warm. And then you have the leftists who, when anybody from the political right or the cultural right dies, they can't express their condolences without also throwing in, I didn't agree with much of what he or she said. I was always, while we didn't see eye to eye, I wish, thoughts and prayers. Anyway. The movie, by the way, that I am highly recommending for anyone who loves serious Jerry Lewis with the acting, it's called Funny Bones. It's called Funny Bones. Oliver Platt, one of the best, most underrated actors ever. Oliver Platt, you know, he's one of those actors, you know him if you see him. Dark hair, big fella, cherubic kind of guy, thick guy, plays his son. And it's a dark dark. It has to do with Liverpool, by the way. Liverpool, yeah, my wife's, my second home, Liverpool. The movie is called Funny Bones. Jerry Lewis kind of plays himself, plays a famous comic. Oliver Platt plays his son, and his son is trying desperately to fill his dad's shoes and to impress his father. I'll leave it there. It's dark, a bit creepy, very funny. Jerry is awesome in it. Highly recommend it. Funny Bones. So if you're still listening, darling, Funny Bones, go find that film. It's a great daytime film. It's a great rainy day film because it's a kind of, like I said, dark comedy. Like a rainy Sunday. I would put that in the bank. I'd put that in the vault and wait for like one of the first like rainy Sundays of the fall and watch Funny Bones. If you do it that way, you'll remember me saying it and you'll thank me. 1-800-848-9222. And speaking of New York films, I'm going to talk to Chris and Jeffrey in 1 second. Speaking of New York films, there are some great ones, and I've been on a kick. It's funny that we're talking about this stuff now, but you talk about The King of Comedy, quintessential New York film. Every time, by the way, it's great. Every time I drive into the city, on rare exceptions, I come down the east side, come down the FDR, I get off 49th Street. That drops me right at the UN Plaza, which is where Johnny Carson lived for a number of years when he was doing the Tonight Show here in New York City. The far east side of Manhattan, especially the UN Plaza, 2 buildings, very 60s edifices with a big, huge lobby, red carpeting, big wooden desk. The doormen still wear like tuxedos. It's like 1964 when you walk in there. It's a time capsule, the UN Plaza. Johnny Carson lived there. For The King of Comedy, they recreated the that sort of thing with Jerry. They had the Jerry character living in a New York City apartment building, and yet the steps that they used were in on the side entrance of the Seagram's building over on Park Avenue, by the way. Yeah. Anyway, so that's a little inside baseball. But I've been on a New York City film kick recently. I watched Taxi Driver a couple of weeks ago, a very underrated film. Has anybody ever seen The 7-Ups? Have you seen The 7-Ups? You got to see it. 1-800-848-9222 on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC, the quintessential New York radio station, talking about quintessential New York films now. And the quintessential New York amendment of the Constitution, free speech. Open your mouth. Speak. And this is where the rubber hits the road. Talk radio. Especially at 3:15 in the morning. What's your New York? Oh, and the other night, I watched the Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. I know we have that theme. I know we have that. Well, yeah. The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3. The original. You can take your John Travolta version and throw it in the East River. The original with Walter Matthau, Martin Balsam, Jerry Stiller. The New York cast. Every great Dolph Sweet. Dolph Sweet played like a sergeant in the NYPD. What's your New York film? What's your New York film? Let's talk to Chris in Pennsylvania. Chris, line 3, freedom of speech. Good morning.
Yeah, hi. How you doing?
I'm well. Good morning to you.
Basically, it's the World Economic Forum that's behind everything. If you really think about it, what they're doing is they're bribing, buying, blackmailing all these world leaders, politicians, judges, bureaucrats throughout all the Western nations, and they're having their own governments actually destroy. That's why the UK is in the mess that it's in.
Yep.
And it's their own government that's doing it. They got a big foothold here too. And it's the Democrats who mainly sold us out. The last 4 years, think about it, all that migration, everything that was happening to us, they had already done to the UK, the other countries, Australia and Canada.
Yeah.
I mean, and they each have their own little specialty. Like Bill Gates is the vaccine guy.
Right.
And he's the environmental guy. He's buying up all the farmland. I mean, it's actually quite diabolical.
It is.
And what they're promising is that these politicians become rich beyond their wildest dreams, which, by the way, they are. All these NGOs, that's all designed by the World Economic Forum. That's all them. All this ideology when it comes to transgender and woke and DEI and the climate crisis, because they're trying to control the energy food supply, and then control banking. And then what they want to do is the digital ID and then this 15-minute cities.
So
they're just going to...
The 15-minute cities, I know, the walkable cities and
ghettos, that's what they'll be.
And you know what? and you know what, Chris? Couple of things. First of all, I hear all of that stuff a lot these days. And for some reason... But here's a couple of things. First of all, it seems that the UK is a very, very willing canary in the coal mine for all these things. And I don't know why. There was something happened along the way. There was a time when and I only happened to be sort of in tune with it because I'm married into a British family. So I pay attention to it. I'm there a couple of times a year, and I always pay attention to their media. I listen to their radio. I watch their television, and et cetera, et cetera. So all that being said, the 15-minute cities, the transit-oriented development, which is certainly already on the upswing here in the States, a lot of government over. What is it about, do you think? Couple of things. A, what do you think it is about the UK that makes it such a willing participant in being a sort of a testing ground for a lot of these concepts? And B, when you talk about this stuff, Chris, when you speak just now, when you called and you went on that run, you know that when people, no, I'm asking you, this is really interesting. When you talk that way, you know that to a lot of people you sound like a conspiracy theorist, right? And meanwhile,
I can
and that's
sound like
fine.
I'm nuts, but they're all coming true.
They're all coming true. And what you're talking about, you're not just pulling that out of the air or your rear end. You're talking about.
I'm connecting the dots. I'm reading this stuff.
Exactly.
And they're telling us what they're going to do. We just never paid attention to them.
Right.
This has been in the making for decades. They've been very patient.
Yeah.
Actually. They've taken over our education system. That they're indoctrinating our kids.
Chris. Now that is something that freaks me out. And everybody, and Pamela, Jeffrey, we're going to talk to you. Everybody hang in there.
And they have a partnership now with the Islamists.
Well, Chris, listen to this. Tell me if this doesn't ring a bell. I live in northern Westchester County, okay? I live in a suburb of New York City. And in my town, I live in a majority conservative town, okay? And yet, somehow, like in a lot of towns, no matter how conservative, the school board is a bunch of leftists. And they know, because they know, look, leave the school, leave the town board, let the mayor be a conservative, let the Republicans run the town all they want. They know that we run the town better than them anyway. But they concentrate on the school boards and the library boards because that's the direct route to the children. Now, this is when I start sounding like a conspiracy theorist. We have a guy.
They're also concentrating on local government, too. They're concentrating on that, too.
Yeah, but in a big way, they're concentrating on the school boards. And we had a guy. Yeah. We have a guy in my town who popped up from out of nowhere, Chris. This guy literally moved into my town and ran for the school board. All right, he bought a house. He was a lawyer. He was a lawyer and he was in the Hague. He was a prosecutor in The Hague and quit all of his jobs, worked for the UN, quit his job, came to my town, ran for the school board, right? Lost, got a job as a substitute teacher in the schools, and then he won. This guy popped up literally from Brooklyn and showed up in my town.
I bet you he's George Soros back or Alexander Soros.
Yes.
And also, so is Mandami or whatever his name is for New York.
Yep.
That's what they're doing. They're getting these people. They've already molded them into what they want.
Chris, there is a lot of talk in town. There's a lot of talk in town that this guy was placed in our town by Soros.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's exactly what they're doing.
And he's the perfect shill. You know why? He was in the Navy. He was a Navy JAG. So he's got all these credentials that appeal to conservatives and makes him seem harmless.
But they're not.
Right.
And like even BlackRock, that's another big issue that we have, because he's now also in charge of the World Economic Forum, and they got all kinds of things going on. That they're buying up coal plants, they're buying up electricity places, and they're trying to jack up all the rates of our electricity.
I know, Chris.
Coming at us.
Hey, gang, does this ring a bell? 1-800-848-9222. It's not just conspiracy stuff. Chris is, like she said, she's connecting the dots. Thank you for calling, Chris. I'm grateful.
Thank you. You have a good night.
You too. Good morning, and enjoy the rest of your day. Have a great Sunday. Jeffrey in Queens, you've been hanging forever to talk about Jerry Lewis, and I'm right here ready to talk with you. Good morning.
Lewis and the World Economic Forum, and then Europe. Okay.
Sure.
As a teenager in the 70s, it was, there's no way to share with other people. I felt so special watching the Jerry Lewis Martin films, the Bob Hope comedies, and even the telethons of Lewis. I mean, there was no one, like now you go to YouTube and you get validation by, saying all the people who love it also. But back then, whether or not I had validation, I validated myself by thinking I felt special enjoying that community stuff.
Yeah.
All right. World Economic Forum. Let's go back 40 years. Trilateral Commission.
Right.
Okay. And then that was into Soros, and they're planting them in your town. And why? I agree to influence. You heard the story, this unbelievable story this week. You heard about it, that the teacher who wanted to call that kid a winner of the Nazi. You know that story, right, DJ?
The teacher that called. I'm sorry, I'm not following you.
There was a contest, or because of his interest in world, they identified a boy as the best Nazi wannabe.
Oh Jesus! No, I didn't hear that story.
You didn't hear this story?
I don't. Okay. I don't know how I didn't. But
let me stop and let you research that. I pick it up next time. Okay. Let me just say about why did Europe? Okay, it's the we say World Economic. What's their angle? Okay, it's the capitalist who's willing to sell out the country because they want cheap labor. That's that. And then, I just show you my cards. I don't want to be Islamophobic, but if you have an Islamo-terrorist who wants to blow up your country, then I'm for killing him. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I'm with you. And look, Islamophobia is also one of the worst. It's so it's a misleading phrase. It's an awful word. I'm not afraid of Islam. I don't have a fear of Muslim people, but at the same time, I'm willing to call it like I see it. And let's
just say no way to do the numbers. If there are 5 billion, but 1% are terrorists, that's a
lot.
Oh, King of comedy. Wasn't Bruno someone we lost also to a young age? A great actor, Bruno Kirby. Wasn't he in that?
Bruno Kirby, was he in the King of Comedy?
Okay, I'm mixing up his roles.
He did die.
He
did die young. He did.
Right,
Bruno
right.
Kirby did. Yeah, you know what my favorite Bruno Kirby role was when he played young Clemenza in The Godfather.
Right.
In The Godfather Part 2, he played the young Clemenza, and they made him fatter and fatter as the movie went on. I don't believe, he might have had a quick part in The King of Comedy, but not a major that I can remember. Maybe he was. He might have been.
But,
now that you mention it.
You're saying his serious role, and I'm thinking, well, his comedic roles. So that's
Yeah. Hey, Jeffrey, thank you so much. I appreciate it, buddy.
Bye-bye.
Have a great rest of the day. And Pamela in Jersey. Good morning, Pamela. Been a while. We haven't spoken in a week or two.
Oh, yeah. Sorry about that.
That's fine. That's fine. I'll always be here.
Sometimes you just got to sleep.
Indeed. Yes. So 7-Ups.
Oh, yeah. And in reference to what the last two callers, you got to watch out for the unelected zoning board and building department workers.
Yep.
Those are the ones who are carrying out the transformation of our neighborhoods.
Yeah. They're the ones. They're the ones who are doing the bidding and happy to oblige when it comes to zoning and clearing the way for that sort of overreach. Yeah, you're right. I'm sorry to interrupt, but yes, I agree with you.
Yes, taking away single family homes and putting up these disgusting. Even in our beloved Nevada and Arizona, I hear people complaining about all the apartment buildings going up and uglifying the desert.
Oh, totally.
But,
no, without a doubt. And again, it's called transit-oriented development. If you live in a bucolic town in Jersey, I know you live in New Jersey, but if you live in Westchester County, if you live out in Nassau or Suffolk, they want to bring 2, 3, 4, 6-story apartment buildings and put them anywhere there's a train line. No matter how rural, agricultural, and it doesn't matter, the government, and it started with the Obama administration calling different towns and different areas racist, basically calling them racist and basing it all on zoning, saying that there's restrictive zoning that keeps out people of color and poor and minority, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's all lies. It's all BS. And, and so it's and so what they want to do is they want to change the zoning and force people to take communities and shame them, and also dangle block grant funding, federal money, or in New York's case, money from Albany, state funding, block grant funding. Get these towns to take money, and then you have them on the hook, and you take them that way as well. Tell me about
housing.
Go ahead.
The housing department and everything. They are the ones with the power in the towns. In New Jersey, they are like the czars of the town. And they give you violations to the point where you want to move, and then they can take over your property.
Yep. That's
what they're doing.
And again, go ahead.
On a positive note,
yes, ma'am.
7-Up. My favorite movie, it was overshadowed by The French Connection. And I love that movie. Roy Scheider. It was such a great movie. And good character development in that movie.
Very good. Tony LoBianco. I had the honor of knowing Tony LoBianco. He was a very active conservative Republican here in New York, especially in the show business community. And he was, he's a great guy. And, what's funny is on my way to, when I used to work for the Archdiocese, when I worked for Cardinal Dolan for a few years, a couple of years ago, my walk to work would take me past a spot that every once in a while I would sort of go, this looks really familiar. Why does this look familiar? And you know what it was? It was the spot. Remember in The French Connection, when Gene Hackman is staking out the Frog One, whatever it was, Frog, the guy, Ferrer, Fernando Ferrer, the actor. He was the guy with the beard in the movie. He was staking him out when he was. Remember, there's that scene where where the guy is sitting in a French restaurant and having a long lunch, and Gene Hackman is freezing outside, eating pizza and drinking cold coffee, watching through the window across the street. That restaurant and the spot across the street were right on my walk to work every single day for several years, and I finally figured it out. And I did, and they filmed a good portion of the French Connection right near where I'm sitting right now in Midtown East. They did a lot of that right around here, and so the 7-Ups, French Connection, Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Taxi Driver, King of Comedy.
And that was the era, too, of Bullet.
Oh, and, right. But I'm talking about great New York films.
Well, that was
Bullet was
upstate,
San Francisco.
You know?
No, Bullet was San Francisco.
The chase in Bullet was upstate.
No.
Along the Taconic?
No. Bullet was in San Francisco, wasn't it?
I don't know. Maybe I got my car chases mixed up. Maybe that was 7-Up.
No, yeah, well, yes, no. The 7-Up was definitely upstate, and French Connection was I believe they filmed that crazy sequence in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah, underneath
the Brighton Beach, Coney Island, under the L. Yeah. That was out there, and I think a tiny portion on the FDR. Yeah. Oh, this is good stuff. Pamela, we're on a roll here, and I love hearing from you. What's that?
They don't make them like that anymore. They don't have the character actors that they had. You know.
You're right. All those films had great character actors. Thanks for calling in again, Pamela. I love it. You're the best. Thank you so much. It is 3:33 here. Good night. It is 3:33 here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We're going to talk to Joaquin and Dr. Anthony when we come back here on 77 WABC.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's TJ McCormick.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Another Side of Midnight with me, TJ McCormick. We're talking about great New York films, and I'm thinking about how I missed the train. That's why I've never starred in a great New York film. I'm TJ McCormick, and I hate my life. Good morning, everyone. And I have to take that life head on without the benefit of alcohol clouding my mind so that I can... anyway. Good morning, everyone. It's 3:39 here on 77 WABC, and we're talking about a lot of different stuff. And yes, New York, man. Again, New York is where the rubber hits the road when it comes to free speech. And interestingly, the Democrats are doing their best to, it's funny, here we are talking about cancel culture, free speech, saying what's on your mind, boop, right? And we're talking about how each side takes their turns in being the Puritans, right? Over the last bunch of years, it's been cancel culture. It's been the left canceling conservatives for saying things and not saying things, right? You come out and you say something against, or you say something that speaking your own mind about, say, transgenderism. And if you say the wrong thing, you're out. Or if you don't say the right thing about Pride Month, you're out. Anyway, all of that being said, here is the Democrat Party, based on reporting from Politico, the Politico Playbook, earlier last week. A new memo from the center-left Democratic think tank Third Way has been released suggesting that Democrat politicians should refrain from using a list of words and phrases. The memo titled, "Was It Something I Said?" That's what they, these idiots. We'll hit that when we come back from our next break. We'll hit that. That's what we'll do. We'll give you guys the language that the Democrats are consulting the Democrats to stop using. In the meantime, let's get over to Joaquin in Pennsylvania talking about European culture. Good morning, Joaquin.
Hey,
welcome.
Good morning, TJ, my man. Hey, listen, I got a tip for you.
Yes,
Get yourself some super hooks, okay?
Some what?
And super hooks. They're like a wire hook. You poke it through the wall or use a real tiny drill bit.
Do me a favor. Actually, Joaquin, do me a favor. Put the phone, the mouthpiece, like right there, because
okay, I'm trying to be quiet because my wife is sleeping.
Oh, all right. Shh. Okay, me too.
Super hooks. Yeah. Order yourself super hooks from Amazon. They're, as seen on TV, they're these wire hooks that hold up to 100 pounds, and you just have to make a tiny little hole in the wall.
Yes.
And slide them in there.
You know what?
Okay, they're amazing.
Joaquin, where did I have those? I had those in one of I owned a house in LA, and I think that's where we used it. And we haven't used them. They're like really pointy. It's a long hook and it goes right in the hole. It's a little pinhole, and it's basically, it's physics. It can hold, like you said, it can hold like 150 pounds.
Yes, they have a curve. They have a hook. They actually have a hook to them that goes behind the wall.
Yes.
And holds it.
Yeah, and when you're ready to move or ready to do something, it's a tiny bit of spackle, or in my case, toothpaste. That's how I leave an apartment. I use toothpaste, and I'm such a jerk. Anyway, go on, Joaquin. What else? What else is cooking?
New York movies: Death Wish, The Warriors, and Escape from New York. Okay.
Yes.
Now,
Warriors, come out and play. Yes.
There you go. So anyway, you know something, unfortunately, we have to open up our eyes. It is the globalist agenda that's trying to take over. And if you look at Europe, okay, I just came across something, Politico. It said that Poland, Hungary, and the Czech Republic, they're actually, they basically are criminals. They're breaking EU law by not allowing Middle Eastern migrants into their countries. Okay?
Right.
So you actually have like a couple of other countries on top of them. I got notes here. I can't find them now. But anyway, and if you look at people like Nigel Farage and even Jair Bolsonaro from Brazil,
right,
Marie Le Pen, George Iesco, these are all nationalists. These people have been criminalized, okay, just like Donald Trump.
Right.
Okay. And many of them actually have been, criminally prosecuted that they can't run for re-election in their countries.
Right. Marine Le Pen is one of them. And that dude, Bolsonaro, yep. Farage, I'm waiting for the other shoe to drop with him because I tell you what, Farage is making headway. The Reform UK party is tearing it up over there right now.
That's right.
If there was an election tomorrow, he'd be the prime minister.
Right. Oh, they did everything to really put a bad name on this guy over the years now. He pushed for the whole Brexit thing and everything.
Yep.
And the European Union, I don't know if you're familiar with the Conference of Parties and some of these other globalist things. If you ever watch any of the videos of these meetings and how these people talk, these are elites that really want to rule the world. You know? They want to take total control. And they're using Islam basically to destroy European culture, national identity. And the unfortunate thing is we have to take an honest look, at Islam and Muslim majority countries, because take Pakistan or any of these countries, once the Muslims have majority control, they institute their Sharia law. There is no religious freedom because everyone has to submit, to Islamic rule. Whether you're Christian or Jew, they say that you can live in peace, but you have to actually submit, and say that Allah is God. Okay. Yep. So, and there are so many sites that people can go and find information on this, but this is the truth of what's going on. And they're using, the whole climate change, agenda. As people have said about the 15-minute cities and so on down the line, the elimination of meat consumption. They want to totally control your life.
Yep.
And so that's why
again, they're on the side of the angels. They're on the side of the angels, Joaquin. And the ends justify everything. They take these unassailable positions. It's about the environment. It's about religion. It's about it's a religion of peace. It's a religion. Okay, we get it. It's 3:45. Got to take our quarter of the hour break here on Another Side of Midnight. When we come back, we'll talk to Dr. Anthony in Astoria. He's got some famous New York movie he wants to talk about. And then we'll also cover the language that Democrats are suggesting to Democrats that they don't say no more because it's words that don't help. Okay, it's 3:46 here on Another Side of Midnight. We shall return on 77 WABC.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's TJ McCormack.
Can you? You digger. 77 WABC. It's Another Side of Midnight. We're talking about great New York films as we're talking about free speech, as we're talking about crazy conspiracy theories, as we're talking about globalization, as we're talking about yeah, you can never go wrong talking about great New York films. Do me a favor can we wind out this hour with, or let's come in the next hour with Taking a Pelham 1, 2, 3. I love that theme. Let's see. It's 3:48. Everyone, thank you for being here on Another Side of Midnight. Very, very grateful for all y'all participating and being here and supporting the show. Great audience that we can have these kinds of conversations that just sort of meander from one thing to another in a great stream of consciousness. I love it. Dr. Anthony in Astoria, you're on line 3. You're on the air. Good morning, Doc.
TJ, who loves you?
You, Kojak. You, Mr. Savalas.
All right, let me take my lollipop out of my mouth. How about The Mean Streets, made in 1973? Martin Scorsese.
Right.
You remember that movie?
Sure. That was one of the first films that what's his name? The guy, he played the pimp in, and he played Mr. Wolf, and he what's his name? The actor. He played Mr. Wolf in Pulp Fiction, and he played the pimp in Harvey Keitel. Boy, Tony, you're good, man. A lot of brain under that bucket hat, boy. I tell you what, this guy, he's quick. I've got an IMDb page, living and breathing, right over there. Yes, Harvey Keitel was in Mean Streets, right? And yeah, that's a great cast. Great film.
Yeah, I saw that when I was a young kid, and I never forgot it because it hit home. It hit home between mafia ties and Catholic religion.
Yeah.
And who was also? When
De Niro's in that. Bobby De Niro.
A good guy.
He's a kid.
Robert De Niro.
He was a kid.
Yeah, when he was a good guy.
Yep. You know what New York film I have not seen, and it's the Prince of New York and the Pope of Greenwich. I've never seen the Pope of Greenwich Village. I've never seen that film.
I haven't either. No.
I haven't seen those, and they're supposed to be quintessential New York films. I do love Taxi Driver. That one, I'm good for that. That Goodfellas, I'll watch those like they're on like sort of a rotation. I'll watch them at least every. You know the building. You know the building where the Lufthansa heist took place at JFK. It's still standing. Yes, that Lufthansa building where they did the heist back, and it's still there.
Yeah. Yep. No, absolutely. New York has such history. It's so rich in history. It's unbelievable.
It is. It's great, and it's wonderful that so much of it is still there, and a lot of these movie locations are still there, but they're starting to kind of, I don't know, they're changing a lot. That's for sure. Well, there you go. Thanks, Dr. Anthony.
My pleasure. You have a wonderful morning.
Thank you. You too, Pally. You too. Hey, listen. Can we find that? You know what? I love to. I'm gonna read off this list. Do me a favor. Can you hook me up with some Herb Alpert? Hit me up with that Spanish Flea again, because the Democrats, as I said, have realized that they've lost a lot of ground, and they realize that they're coming across like a bunch of snow. They're finally getting their snowflake status. They understand it. And so, this is the list of terms that they shouldn't be using. Here we go. They should not be using the term microaggression. Privilege. Yes, privilege. I talked about my own privilege last night. Democrats should not be using words like triggering, intersectionality. They should also avoid birthing person, pregnant people instead of women. Pregnant people. They say pregnant people. Cisgender. They shouldn't say cisgender. They should not say dead naming, nor should they utter the word patriarchy. What about the other garchy? Oligarchy. They're still okay with oligarchy. They should also, here's one, heteronormative. Please, Democrats, refrain from saying heteronormative. Let's also refrain from saying LGBTQIA+. The memo suggests that this is organizer jargon that has become too long and confusing for many. No kidding! Once that thing went from LGBT to then Q and then I and then A, even the Democrats, when they say it, they go, LGBTQI, you know. Dummies, idiots, stupid. In terms of social and economic language, Democrats are now being told to stop saying the unhoused, food insecurity, and minority communities. Now right there, why not? Why don't you? But they can't say minority communities? They're just, you know what? This is what happens when you play word games and you invest so much in language like that and identity politics. You dummies. Dummies. So they're being told to move away from the culture war. I wonder what else they're being, but isn't that great? Triggering interest. Are we finally in a world where we're not going to be told about triggering? You know, that's another thing. When the BBC and even our broadcasting, our television, we're always told the following video can contain triggering content. The following video might be difficult to watch. 1-800-848-9222. 1-800-848-WABC. That's the phone number. We've been talking about great New York films. That great New York film conversation came from the notion that, it came from a mention about Jerry Lewis, actually, and the Jerry Lewis telethon, because then we started talking about the king of comedy, and that got us onto the conversation about great New York films. And that is what great talk radio is all about. Stream of consciousness, one thing leads to another, and then we get into the idea that Democrats, when it comes to free speech, Democrats are being told, hey, listen, you know what? We've been complaining a lot. We've been we are snowflakes. They finally looked at each other and said, wait, you know what? They're right. We are overly offended. We are a bunch of shrinking violets and petunias, and we are a bunch of daffodils. We are a bunch of daffodils that bloom too soon, and now it's winter again, and we're falling under the snow, and we're hurt. And don't say that. Now, granted, you got a lot of conservatives that shudder at certain words and don't like anti-Christianness and don't like certain terminologies everybody has to have a thick skin. It's different. It's a slight difference in what one side does with it and the other. The left wants to ruin you. The left wants to absolutely end a career. Now, saying that, and again, I got to drop a dime on myself. Again, I told you about that New York Post article about the guy and his wife down in Georgia. They were shouting hateful things at their neighbor. A Jewish neighbor called them the K word and said that it was okay that their neighbor's daughter died fighting in Israel because she was fighting. She was in the IDF. And that guy, that hateful neighbor, who has a right to be hateful, he has a right to say, he has a right to offend, and the other people have a right to be offended. But The marketplace says you can be fired. Oh, Allison has a good one. Let's get over to Al right away. Let's get right to her right there. Allison in Bayside. You nailed it right here. This one, I wouldn't have thought of it. Go ahead.
Marathon Man, I didn't know if anybody mentioned it.
Nope, nobody mentioned it. Is it safe?
That was a great movie, wasn't it?
Is it safe? Oh, God, it's so good.
Hoffman,
Allison, yeah, a young Dustin Hoffman and Roy Scheider and Laurence Olivier. Yep, Laurence Olivier played the bad guy, and Roy Scheider played. I believe didn't he play his brother? Wasn't it Dustin Hoffman's brother who was a cop? Right.
I just was thinking about it when they did with the teeth.
Yeah, the drilling. Right, he was a Nazi, right? And he played a Nazi. No, but I mean, Roy Scheider was Dustin Hoffman's brother in the film, right? And he was like a cop or FBI.
I just loved it because they shot it in the Diamond District on 47th Street. They did a lot.
Yep.
And I remember that my mother told me the director used to always kid around with her. He's a famous director. The name escapes me now.
Tony will tell us. Tony, tell us. No, it wasn't Scorsese. I don't think Scorsese did it.
No.
It was a horror film guy. Or was it Kubrick? We'll find out. Lumet? We'll find out. We'll find out in the break. It's coming up on top of the hour. Allison, we'll get you that information. Thank you. Marathon Man is amazing. Everybody else calling in, stay right there. It's Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick on 77 WABC. Look at us. We're doing talk radio. Hey!
This is Another Side of Midnight
with TJ McCormack.
Now to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's TJ McCormack.
It's not that I'm straight. It's that I'm just not actually gay. And the only, and look, there are so many things about me that would lead one to think that I very well could be. And I'm talking about in a very stereotypical sense. I mean, I am a bit persnickety. I do approach life kind of like a gay man approaches life. I'm pretty well turned out, generally speaking. I do a lot of skincare. I think I look a little bit younger than my age. I think I look good for 57. I like the finer things. I do retail therapy and massage therapy. I present and kind of express myself sometimes kind of gayish. Funny, he doesn't look gayish. But but again, it's like, am I gay? Am I not gay? Am I gay? Am I not gay? I honestly, I know that most of the gay men that I know, I could easily settle in and have a great day-to-day living arrangement relationship. The intimacy ain't gonna happen. That ain't how I'm wired. I like me the woman stuff. See, there you go. I'm all into ladies. So, at the same time, like there's this great couple I know, my good buddies, Dan and Bill. I could live with Dan and Bill. I could live with them. I could enjoy dinner nightly with them. They have a wonderful home. It's always clean. There's no girl stuff everywhere. Bathroom's a mess. Laundry's overflowing all the time. Nobody takes the garbage out. And speaking of dogs, there was a long time that I owned a Shih Tzu. A little Shih Tzu named Benny. That's the icing on my gay cake. Dog get you. Dog get you.
When the dog that chases its tail will be busy.
Ow, 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 yippee, yo, yippee, yay. Anyway, it is 4:09. Good morning, everyone. This hour, before we, as we lead up to the 5 a.m. newscast with Liz Radabali, we will have a conversation with Daniel McAdams, a very interesting conversation about isolationism versus and the Trump doctrine and the Ron Paul doctrine. It's a kind of a serious conversation, but it's very timely. We talk about a few things, including Ukraine and Russia and all that stuff, and the potential for finally bringing an end to it, and the best ways to do that in terms of what's best for America. And so that's coming up in just a few moments. And in the meantime, we'll just put the bow on our conversations about great New York City films. Frankie's got one. Frankie in Glendale, line 3. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, TJ.
Hey.
I'm surprised nobody mentioned Saturday Night Fever yet.
Saturday Night Fever. A great New York film. You nailed it,
that was
buddy.
Like 1978.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of it was filmed down in Brooklyn, Bay Ridge.
Right.
They had the discotheque and the pizzeria.
Right.
They filmed parts of it on the Verrazano Bridge.
Yep.
As I recall.
Mm-hmm.
And right down the block, the snowflakes would go absolutely out of their minds. We used to have this fantastic nightclub called the Crazy Country Club.
Okay.
On 64th Street and 7th Avenue.
64th and 7th.
Nobody was safe.
Uh-huh.
No one was safe in this place. Okay.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Fun out of.
Oh, everybody would get made fun of. Oh, funny.
All right. I mean, the snowflakes. This place wasn't for snow. This place wasn't for snowflakes. I mean, this is a part of America that's missing, where we could laugh at each other.
Everybody was busting each other's. Everybody was busting stones.
Right, and it's made back then. It was pretty much an Italian Jewish neighborhood.
Right.
And of course, if it was near St. Patty's Day, the jokes would be about the Irish. If it was Columbus Day, it would be about the Italian.
Right.
So on and so. So let's get back to it. I think there's quite a few callers mentioned already. We got to start to lighten up.
Yep.
And become stop being a bunch of sissies.
Yeah, I like that.
All right.
Yeah, good point. Thank you, buddy boy. Thank you, Frankie. I appreciate that. Saturday Night Fever, another great, underrated as in terms of New York. I think that's identified as a disco, a cultural film. Or at least that's how I see it. I don't automatically call it a New York film, but it absolutely is. It totally is. And by the way, are you guys? Look at me. I got a cough button. I did it again. I cleared my throat. I love playing with that. Okay. I'm wondering if all y'all are familiar with this film I keep talking about. Well, it looks like Tony just called somebody, and they got Tony. If anybody knows what I'm talking about when I say taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, it's the New York City film. The New York City film for me. Let's pop over to Silas in Manhattan. Silas, good morning. Welcome.
Yeah, Silas from Staten Island.
Yes, sir.
Staten
Island.
Talking about the Democrats are saying things that they shouldn't say. Well, they should send a memo out and say, hey, if we want to get better with the people, stop lying.
Yeah.
That's all. Stop lying to people. Stop making up stuff about any of your enemies. Now, this Swalwell guy and
Swalwell. Oh, is he the worst?
These people.
Oh, he's an embarrassment.
People who, they're taught by the Communist Party.
Yep.
Here's what you do: you just keep on pressing your thing. Get rid of every cultural thing that's great about America.
Mm-hmm.
This clown, the Hochul, talking about we want to take the Indian names off of schools and stuff.
Yep.
What could be more American than an American Indian? I'm Cherokee.
Wow.
And this clown wants to take our name out of, you know how many states and towns are named after Indians?
Yeah.
The Democrat Party says they want to take over like the communists. They want to get rid of everything American.
Yep.
And then, Ellen, speaking of films, and it wasn't really a film.
Right.
It was Madonna's Papa Don't Preach. Filmed on Staten Island.
Oh, okay.
We were all in it. We all had the
No
same
kidding.
releases, but I was cut out. George Alvarez was the only one who was still in it. But it was just something that they filmed right here in Staten
that's
Island.
fun. I didn't know that. I didn't know they did that out there.
But the one way we're going to straighten out New York is Curtis Lewa gets in.
Amen.
And crime and all starts dropping. Other states are going to go, wait a minute, Washington was cleaned up?
Right.
New York was cleaned up? I want that. I want my place cleaned up. And they'll start following suit.
I agree. Silas, I agree.
The miracle that we got to do is get Curtis in there. If everybody votes for him, then he can't lose.
We have the time. We can make it happen. We can turn this 747. Thank you, Silas. You're great. It is 4:15, and let's get over to Christopher. I know Christopher has a New York film.
Yes, no one has mentioned this film. It's not a critically acclaimed movie.
Right.
But I thought it was one of the greatest New York movies, Nighthawks.
Boom. That was, let me see, that was Stallone.
Sylvester
and let me
Stallone
see.
and
let me
Billy
see.
D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams, yes, Billy D. Good-looking son of a gun.
The tram scene.
The tram. Oh,
And,
the Roosevelt Island tram?
Yeah.
No kidding.
And there's a subway scene in there. There's a chase scene in the subway.
Are they both
chasing-
cops? Are they detectives? Is that what it is?
Yes, they're both detectives. They're chasing a terrorist by the name of Wolfgar.
Oh wow, you're into this film.
Oh yeah, Nighthawks I thought was a really good movie.
I got to do it. I got to do
New
it.
York movie.
I got to do that. I got to do that later today. That sounds like a Sunday film for me.
You haven't seen it?
No, I mean I know it's there.
You're gonna like it.
I know it's
You're
there,
gonna like
Christopher. I've heard of it. I knew it. And frankly, Tony, who you spoke to, he brought it up in between during one of the commercial breaks. He was like, "Yo," he said, "Nighthawks, Billy D." And yep, and you know what? Oh, speaking of Stallone, what was the film where Stallone? It was wait, hold on a minute. It's the Somethings of Something. It was the first film that he was in. There was a big subway scene. It's like Stallone's first film.
I don't.
Lords of Flatbush. Damn, he's an encyclopedia.
Lords of Flatbush.
The Lords of Flatbush, and Stallone plays a young punk in that. There's a subway scene, and he's in that. And yep. The Lords of Flatbush. Somebody else is in that too, along with. I mean, Stallone. I don't know if he has a big. If he's like a
I
star.
guess you could put The Godfather into New York.
Absolutely,
New York movies too.
Absolutely, Godfather for sure, and it's also I guess it's also one of the great Lake whatchamacallit? Oh my God, Tahoe. I guess it's also a Great Lake Tahoe film, Godfather Part 2. But no, you're right. No, Godfather, Goodfellas, all in Queens. I love that. And I love how they captured the Queens thing. Oh, and A Bronx Tale, for crying out loud. That's another one.
Oh yeah, that's
I
right.
mean, right? It's like, no, totally. It's. Yeah.
And you know what? TJ, you can't limit this. There's some great comedy movies that were made in Manhattan. The Out of Towners.
Oh, The Out of Towners, The Odd Couple. The Odd Couple is a great New York City film.
Yeah, I was just watching it the other day.
The original.
The original, yes. The original
Get out, Felix.
Odd Couple.
I'm going to kill you, Felix. Get out.
Oh,
You're driving
my
me
God.
crazy. Something wonderful is happening in that kitchen. Yep.
There's scenes in there from Shea Stadium.
Put down that spoon. It's not a spoon. It's a ladle, you ignoramus. It's a ladle, and you didn't even know that.
There's a scene in there where Jack Lemmon goes shopping, and they go to a store that doesn't exist anymore.
Right. And he
Bohack.
And he calls. Yeah, that's right. Shea Stadium is in it, and Jack Lemmon, Felix makes Oscar miss a triple play because he calls him and says, "Don't eat too many hot dogs at the game because we're having Franks and beans for dinner."
Exactly.
That is my wife and me.
What?
What's that?
Watch Nighthawks. You're gonna like it a lot.
I will,
TJ. Thank
I will.
you
I
very
will.
much.
Thank you, buddy. All right, gang. It's 4:19. Gonna take a quick break. And when we return, Daniel McAdams. Stay right there. Stay right there, Felix. We're gonna take a break. And if I don't take a break, I can't do the show anymore, Felix. I can't do the show. So I gotta take a break. Let me take a break with the Pigeon Sisters. I'll be right back. I'm gonna go talk to the Pigeon Sisters.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's TJ McCormack.
And joining us now here on Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC is Daniel McAdams. He's the executive director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity and co-host of the Ron Paul Liberty Report. Daniel McAdams, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Really, really grateful to have you. Listen, you've been a close associate. Would you say Ron Paul is a mentor?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I've worked for him for nearly a quarter of a century in one capacity or the other. I started off on his legislative staff on Capitol Hill, and I've been running his Institute for Peace and Prosperity for the past 12 years.
We've heard the likes of Judge Napolitano referring to him as a modern day Thomas Jefferson. And as he celebrates his 90th birthday, which is pretty wild to imagine, what do you think are some of Ron Paul's greatest accomplishments?
Well, I think his work ethic is one of them. Which among us at 90 years old would still be getting up every day to research and do a program? Obviously, he doesn't need to do it, but he does it because he wants to be productive. And, even the best of us do get lazy sometime, but he shows the way to just work hard at what you want to do and be patient and do it. Yeah. I think that really is one of his greatest traits, just this desire to work hard.
Yeah, no, and that's something that he could definitely that these millennials and Gen Z kids could use from. And actually, speaking of the younger generations, how do you think Ron Paul has inspired younger generations of leaders and activists, potentially, I wonder, on both sides of the political spectrum?
That's true, and I think he does do that. I think that was his strength when he first launched his two Republican presidential bids, was the fact that the biggest surprise was to him that it caught on like fire with young people. And I think a lot of it was that he just spoke the truth in a very plain way. And I think young people aren't used to that, especially when it comes to politicians. You know how they talk. They use all of these wooden words and weasel words, and they talk down to young people. He never did that. He spoke straight to them, and everything that he said, he meant. And I think they recognized the fact that made him very authentic to them. I think that was appealing to young people.
And would you say, hearing you say that, we could have carved out Ron Paul and dropped in Donald Trump? Not saying that there's any sort of, advocacy or endorsement of anything, but we'll get to Trump in a moment. But there's a very Trumpian thing there, this straightforward. You don't hear Trump using the same vapid talking points and empty suit sort of generalities. He just says it like it is. Sometimes too much of it to some people's liking, sometimes a little bit too rough around the edges. But, I'm sure without saying, speaking for him, but generally speaking, how does the Institute or Dr. Paul think about the Trump style, if not the Trump presidency?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think that does appeal to people, the way Trump is able. Here's a man who started numerous businesses, has become very wealthy running those businesses. But if you watch him interact with someone like a doorman or something, you can tell that he relates to people on a level that you normally wouldn't expect of someone of his stature. And I think that's, to be honest with you, why he did so well with the minority vote that typically doesn't vote Republican.
Yes.
Because he didn't try to blow smoke. he was just authentic with them. Now, obviously, as you point out, there is a big difference in style, but I think in the approach of just being a plain speaker, I think that definitely Trump does share that trait.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. For sure. Again, this is Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We're speaking with Daniel McAdams. He's the executive director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. He's turning 90 years old, is Ron Paul. And he's had really quite an impact on politics and government, which are, certainly two different things when you boil it down. What do you think will be the lasting impact of Ron Paul's message going forward?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, I wrote a piece a couple of weeks ago called "How Ron Paul Changed the World," and it was in response to a lot of people who've said, "Well, he really wasn't that successful in Congress. How many bills did he get passed?" As if that's the metric.
Right.
Before Ron Paul started talking about things like the Federal Reserve, nobody was talking about it. It was obscure. We went down to visit with Tucker Carlson last year. And off camera, Tucker admitted to Dr. Paul when he first started being interested in Dr. Paul's views, he thought that the Fed issue was sort of a quirky, almost conspiratorial,
wonkish kind of, yeah.
And he said, but then I started digging into it, and I realized how central to everything the Federal Reserve is. It is absolutely central. So I think his lasting impact is just to get people to talk about things like the Fed and how they destroy our lives. And I think the appeal is that it goes across ideological and political lines. I mean, I think that's how he's been able to make alliances with people on the progressive side, like Dennis Kucinich, because you point out how the Fed enables war.
Right.
Let's imagine if this $100 billion or however much money we gave to Ukraine, if someone passed a hat around and Americans had to pony up this money, the support for the war would have dried up very quickly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And so mentioning war and given the current climate and the news cycles being so full of Russia and Ukraine, you've ascribed to a very non-interventionist foreign policy. I would imagine it could be. I mean, have I heard the phrase the Ron Paul doctrine? And past statements from yourself, from Ron Paul, from the Institute. Let me just get to it. In about 2014, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, there was a statement out there from you guys that the U.S. overthrowing Ukraine's elected government was probably a catalyst, or at least an early harbinger for what created the current conflict. And now with the war 3 years on, do you think that the U.S. and NATO involvement has de-escalated? Are we on a path to de-escalation, or could all of these current talks and all of these current machinations that everybody thinks is about to propel Donald Trump into the next level of peacemongering, do you think that it actually could potentially intensify the conflict? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it can, and I think it's very dangerous. Indeed, you have to understand the antecedents of these things. You have to understand that for the U.S. to help overthrow the government of Ukraine in 2014, which incidentally is the second time they did it. The first time they did it was in 2004 with the Orange Revolution. But for the U.S. to overthrow that government, it destabilizes the country, and it led to the first civil war there in Ukraine. And then our involvement just increased. We heard Victoria Nuland bragging about how much money we spent to overthrow the government.
Right.
Now, even if everything had come up roses, it's still immoral. We wouldn't want anyone to overthrow our government. And in fact, we had a national freakout for how many years on the lie that the Russians were doing something, who knows what. So it's not a good practice to do, and it doesn't work. And you're right, it is dragging us closer to a nuclear war. And the question is, over what? I mean, during the Cold War, we had an ideological conflict with the Soviet Union. They were communists. They hated freedom, and we were there to support the free world. We don't even have that kind of ideological divide. What the heck is it all about?
Yeah.
That's the big problem. And, Americans, I think, are starting to understand more and more that this is not our fight, and the stakes are way too high to keep doing what we're doing.
So what is the primary U.S. interest in the war as it is right now? Is it just simply Is it a matter of like, is it just a means to an end to get a hold of those rare earth minerals? Is it something as simple as we're showing an interest now, and if we get our hands on those mines, and then whatever else happens, that's just sort of secondary? What is our primary interest in this war?
Well, I don't think it's driven by economics. That's a factor.
But because I'm going to interrupt you, because I'd like to think that it's genuine. I'd like to think that really it's because Donald Trump doesn't like war, and he genuinely doesn't like the killing, that he has an aversion to the violence. That's what I'd like to think is our primary interest in all this, is to actually stop the violence. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it would be nice. But the problem is, you can't be an arsonist and a firefighter at the same time. We lit the fire. When you're digging a hole, the best thing to do is stop digging. So Donald Trump, unfortunately, had a golden opportunity when he came into office to say, look, this is Biden's war. I want nothing to do with it. Do not want to do any funding of it. I'm just going to walk away. And the war would have been over by now. But unfortunately, we have a group of people that dominate Washington. They're called neocons, and they love war. They don't have a reverse gear. They don't even have a set of brakes. And they have been obsessed with overthrowing Russia since the end of the Cold War. They would like to see Russia taken to pieces and taken down for a number of reasons, and they just don't quit. Even as everything they do leads to a negative outcome, they still keep doing it. They still keep being in charge. You still have people like Keith Kellogg who are advising the president, who frankly doesn't know what the heck he's talking about when it comes to Russia. But he does know that people have told him that they have to be overthrown. Right. We shouldn't be in the business of overthrowing other governments. It's not a good business to be in.
Once again, we're talking to Daniel McAdams. He's the executive director of the now 90-year-old Ron Paul, the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. And we've shifted into just a brief final conversation here about Russia and Ukraine, especially from the perspective of the Paul Doctrine, which is, a non-interventionist America First perspective. And given the current situation on the battlefield, look, the people say there's a couple of possibilities, right? Either A, everything comes up roses in the next couple of month, or let's say, okay, everything comes up roses. They get a ceasefire and an immediate ceasefire, and then a peace deal, and everybody starts healing. Okay, that's one, but that would then take a lot of helicopter parenting of both sides over the next decades to make sure nothing breaks out again. The other potential scenario is nothing works, that there is no ceasefire. My gut is in that second scenario, because the first scenario, given all of the land issues, is really it might be a bridge too far. It's certainly aspirational. The second scenario, which is the other end of which is the other extreme, which is again it all fails. My gut is Trump does indeed do what you say he could have done in the first place. If this push fails, I think Trump does walk away and says, screw it all. We're pulling the money. Europe, it's up to you. And he leaves it up to all of their neighbors to stand guard and figure it out for themselves. I think if it doesn't work, Trump does step away like you say he should have done in the first place. What do you think?
That's the best case scenario. Then all of these tough European leaders will be changing their depends when that happens, because they'll realize that it's game up, step up, guys. You want to have a war with Russia, go for it. This war, the outcome of this war was predetermined. I'm a late middle-aged guy in bad shape. It's like me taking on Tyson in his prime, right? Just look at the numbers.
Yeah.
Ukraine can't beat Russia, and if it wasn't for the Europeans egging them on, they would have come to their senses. Zelensky was elected as a peace candidate. People should go back and rewind the tape and look what he was talking about. He was elected as a peace candidate. Then the neocons got their hooks in him and said, hey, we can use this guy. We can bleed the country dry to try to weaken Russia. I consider that a very immoral thing to do.
What do you think, Daniel McAdams, is the truth about all the stuff we heard? We heard so much, whether it was conspiracy theory or conjecture or, just truth-telling narrative. What do you think is the truth about the Biden influence in all this, and maybe even specifically Hunter Biden and Burisma and all that other stuff. I mean, how much truth do you think there is to all that with the whole Biden crime family syndicate?
Oh, I mean, well, from what we've seen, it's pretty deep.
Yep.
You know, I mean, it was a sweetheart deal for Biden because the crackhead son gets a sweetheart deal, making however much money a month, and then the neocons, who were the power behind Biden, they get to have their little war to try to destabilize Russia, which has always been their goal. You know, Blinken worked hand in hand with Nuland in the Obama administration when the coup first happened. This has been their goal for a decade now. So here's a little bit in it for Hunter, and here's a little bit in it for us. And meanwhile, there's nothing in it for the American people. We get robbed and get threatened with nuclear weapons.
Oy vey. So you think so again, Daniel McAdams is the executive director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick. We're on 77 WABC, 1-800-848-9222, 1-800-848-9222. And so in closing, it's a very easy or simple question with a potentially complicated answer. What is your gut? What do you think? And if I know you follow all of this night and day. What's your gut on what happens either over the next couple of weeks or the next 6 months? What do you think happens with Russia, Ukraine, and also if you don't mind, just quickly also your gut on the Middle East with the Israel. I know I'm opening up an insane can of worms there, but just take a look at one region, take a look at one conflict, take a look at the other, and just give me your prognostication, like ESPN, like we're calling a Super Bowl. What do you think happens on those two fronts?
Well, I think it's a good sign that Presidents Trump and Putin respect each other, that they're talking to each other. I think it's very obvious that President Trump respects Putin, and the feeling is mutual. That's the opposite of what was happening in the Biden administration, where even if you wanted to, Biden probably couldn't have talked to him,
right.
But nevertheless refused to pick up the phone. That's a great sign, and I think they'll find a way to work something out. As to the Middle East situation, Americans and Republicans particularly are getting sick and tired of what's happening over there, and they're tired of funding it. So I think you're going to have you're already seeing some damage to Trump's base on this. Trump is very attuned to his base.
Yeah.
And if the rumor is true that he told one of his donors that Israel is hurting his base, his relationship with Israel is hurting his base, then he's very keenly aware of it, and he's going to have to find a way out for himself because he can't afford. I mean, he does have an ego. Let's be honest. He can't afford to lose that base, so he's going to have to do something. And doing something, I think, is not as hard as he thinks.
All right. Well, listen, I have a funny feeling that this won't be the last time you join us, at least I hope. Daniel McAdams, Executive Director of the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. You go to ronpaullibertyreport.com, ronpaullibertyreport.com to learn more about their work and Dr. Paul and Daniel and everything that they do and look at and comment on. And so, Daniel, once again, thanks for joining us here on Another Side of Midnight on 77 WABC.
Thanks very much. Have a great day.
You got it. Thanks, buddy. Fascinating how, there's those people. He knows his stuff. Boy, does he know his stuff. And I like that. I like that perspective. And I think Ron Paul certainly set the table for more than a few big players these days. And that's actually a question I meant to ask Daniel is who in particular in Washington these days has aside from his own kid Rand, I'm wondering who Ron Paul views as being his legacy there aside from his son in D.C. I should have asked that. I knew there was something in the back of my head that I wanted to ask. Anyway, it's 4:41, and it is another side of midnight here. I'm TJ McCormick, 77 WABC. And over this morning, we've been having a really cool conversation that, again, just sort of expanded organically. And now here we are talking about war and peace and isolationism and stuff like that. But from the beginning of the program, everything from free speech, First Amendment, right on through a great classic conversation about great New York films, which I just I love that kind of stuff. And clearly you guys do too. So now next week, again, we're gonna have some fun. It sort of occurred to me during the show and I said it out loud. So now we're definitely got to do it. But next week is Labor Day weekend, and I'm always torn on Labor Day weekend too because I support unions and stuff like that. I support labor, but I'm a big entrepreneur guy. I'm married to a small business owner. You know what I mean? And so I always tweak. I always poke. And I always talk about celebrating. I always like on social media. I say, happy entrepreneur and risk taker day. But you know what? It can't be that cute anymore. Because guess who's part of the MAGA base? Guess who's part of my family circle now? Yeah, a whole bunch of blue collar union labor dudes and women. That's my brethren. Everything's flipped. I gotta be a little bit more nuanced in my being cute when it comes to organized big labor. But anyway, next week we're gonna definitely build a little bit into the show, an homage to great days gone by with the Jerry Lewis Labor Day Telethon. That I missed that. Isn't it amazing the sensory memory about going into the first day of school? This was about the time of year when I would start to get really, truly stressed. Mainly because I did not ever do my summer reading. I never, ever did my summer reading. I never did it. I remember sneaking to the mall, the Galleria Mall in White Plains, the late lamented Galleria Mall in White Plains, and sneaking into, I don't know if it was Barnes and Noble or whatever the bookstore was. I forget the name of that bookstore, but I would go in and I would, right about this time of year, and I would look for the Cliff Notes. And what was the other notes? It was Cliff's Notes. And there was like a lesser version of Cliff's Notes. It wasn't as good, but it was again, condensed versions of books. I would buy them. I would sneak into my house like I was carrying nuclear material. It was so verboten. It was so forbidden. The idea of having those notes instead of reading the book. My mom was a teacher before she became a full-time mom. And if they knew that I was buying these notes to then write bad book reports, honestly, I would have had better luck walking into the house with a Playboy or a Penthouse under my arm than walking in with these notes, these condensed versions of the books. And like clockwork, I would write a very poorly contrived version of a book report on these things and invariably get called out by the teacher for never having read the book and failed. Before I even turned the lights on that school year, before I even put the key in the door to open up my school year, I failed. I was the worst student. So what books was I supposed to read that I didn't read? I never did read. Let's see. Of Mice and Men. And I know I'm missing out on a few of these. On a few of them, I know I'm missing some classics, and I should, even at 57, I should read them now. I know. They're that good. Of Mice and Men, but I've seen the movie. And I read the Cliff Notes. The Yearling. Oh, God. That was 5th grade. The Yearling. I remember there's a character in there called Fodderwing. Right? Is Yetta listening, the teacher? 1-800-848-9222. Summer reading. What did you enjoy? Did you look forward to going back to school? Or were you like me and just loathing it and not wanting to come out of my room? And again, I said sensory memory. It's everything from the telethon to just what the morning smells like getting into this time of year. It's getting cooler, right? Cooler overnight, cooler in the morning. Like right now, it's in the 60s right now. Probably could be in the high 50s depending on where you are in the tri-state area. When you walk outside and you smell that smells like school starting. And to this day, I will go back in time in my mind and remember. I'll remember my failure, my imminent failure. Good God. Anyway, it's 4:47. I'm going to take a quick break. And when we return, we will come down the stretch and prepare to hand you off to the 5 a.m. newscast with Liz Radabelli. She's preparing that as we speak. This is Another Side of Midnight. I'm TJ, and it's 77 WABC.
It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist TJ McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's TJ McCormick.
That's actually, it is a great New York film. Again, I'm glad that somebody pointed that out this morning. I always look at it as a cultural film, being all Saturday Night Fever, being, all about disco and stuff like that. But it is a New York film. And, staying alive. Another New York entity, another big New York part of life here is, of course, the mass transit. And this was in the Post. I believe this was in Friday's Post. Yeah, Friday's New York Post. The MTA. I one time lost. I had a phone stolen from right off the seat next to me. It might have been one of the last Blackberries that I had. It certainly was one of the last. The phone wasn't mine after this trip, but I was coming into the city for a meeting of a secret society, not AA, but it's something I can't even mention here. But a secret political group. Anyway, an underground political group. So I'm sitting there on the Metro North, and I'm coming in, and it was the Harlem line. We pull into, it was kind of a local, not exactly a local, but it made couple of stops. Stopped at Fordham. Doors open, kid gets up, goes to walk out the door. I have the phone sitting next to me on the seat. I'm sitting in I guess a 2-seat. Phone is next to me, right by my thigh. Not under my leg like I should have done, but right next to me. Kid reaches down, grabs the phone, boogies, bolts, runs off the train. And I get up and I bolt out and I go, oh my God, I was so pathetic. I was like, stop. It was just, my voice is cracking because I was all hyped up and and I'm like, stop, somebody stop that guy, got my phone. And of course, I wouldn't have. In my own little world, I would have just pretended I had my earbuds in. No, I mean, if anything, people were like, oh, get out of the way. Let the kid run. Kid's trying to get away with the guy's phone. Make some room. Make way for the burglar. Make way for the robber. Let the kid get through. Yeah. So, and I couldn't leave my stuff. I couldn't chase. And like people say, what am I going to do if I catch the kid? What am I going to do? Tackle him? What am I going to do? It sucked. Anyway. So there was that, and I lost something. I don't know if I lost a pair of really, really, really expensive shades one time. And the MTA has a lost and found. There is a process. There is a procedure that's supposed to find your stuff if you lose it. And the MTA Inspector General's office did an undercover field study where it turned over 24 lost items. All right. So they basically had these secret staffers who went into Grand Central to their lost and found. There's a lost. I believe it's on the ground floor of Grand Central. I believe it's on the ground floor. Down the lower level, of Grand Central, not ground floor, the lower level of Grand Central. Pretty sure that's where that office is. Anyway. They went in and workers from the MTA, which is the worst run organization in the world. I believe Hamas is a better organized bunch of people than the MTA, top to bottom. The people in charge of the MTA. So 24 quote unquote lost items were handed in early 2024. And they were only out of 24 pretended to be lost items, right? They literally found, they walked in, different people working undercover-ish, handed in 24 items early in 2024. One was ever claimed. One was ever able to retrieve that item months later. And a separate Long Island Railroad test found that only 47% of 19 lost possessions handed over to the employees was ever retrieved. So the MTA, they said that, okay, so the MTA Transit's Lost Property Unit received 68,000 items last year. 68,000 items were lost on the MTA. That either sounds like a small number or a huge number. Right? With all the people getting on and off and putting their stuff down in bags and this and that. Right? 68,000 sounds like it'd either be, that's either like way too small or like, wow, 68,000 items. I don't know. That's like putting something, I guess it is. That's putting something on every seat at Yankee Stadium like twice. Okay. But anyway, yeah, so they realized that they've got a big problem. They said there's clear lapses in the lost and found systems, particularly at New York City Transit. So when they say, please check your personal items, take them with you, they're not kidding, because basically what they're saying is because you ain't going to get it back because we're a mess. Anyway, gang, thank you for a great weekend. I'm really, 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 really grateful. This was a fun couple of mornings. We had a lot of fun talking about a lot of different stuff. Next weekend is Labor Day weekend. We will definitely pay homage to Jerry Lewis and the Labor Day Telethon. And we'll talk about, as always, anything that you want to talk about. I really hope you have a wonderful Sunday. God bless. And hope you have a nice week ahead. Yeah. And if you didn't do your summer reading, do your summer reading. Even if you have to suffer through something like, White Fang or whatever the hell it is. Anyway, I'll be back next weekend. And until I do see you again, I wish you all the luck in the world.